you remember the first time you watched this movie, dude?
Sometime long time ago.
When was the last time you watched this movie?
Quite a while ago too. Yeah.
Same thing for me. I actually do remember when I first picked up this movie. This was before I moved, but I would go to like pawn shops around town, and I would just buy like Blu-ray stuff for like really cheap from pawn shops. You know, like $5.
DVDs.
Yeah, $5 a DVD.
Yeah.
But you know, Blu-rays are popular, so like $5 a Blu-ray or whatever.
Yeah.
And I just kind of like browsing and looking, and I stumbled upon The Good, Bad, and the Weird on the shelf, and I was like, "Ooh, it's an Asian movie, and it's like kind of looks neat." So $5, I bought it, and I watched it, and I was like, "Wow,
Yeah.
this is really good." Sadly, I did not bring it with me, but
When I first watched this movie, I was really confused. I was like,
really,
why are there Asian cowboys like fighting and stuff? But I don't know. I think after I like went to school and after I started studying film, I was actually very appreciative of what he was trying to do.
right,
And kind of blending like this spaghetti western and like being influenced from The Good, Bad, and
the ugly.
Yeah, and the ugly from actual spaghetti westerns. Really, it's pretty interesting and fun to see how he used that and kind of put his own take on it.
It's funny because it's like it takes western as a genre rather than like a geographic kind of thing or like a cultural kind of thing.
Yeah.
You know, rather than like American westerns and like cowboys and things like that.
Yeah.
But westerns and then just set in Asia, so it's it is in Manchuria, and you still get that same kind of cowboy vibe, even though it's not kind of 1-to-1.
Yeah.
But it's funny that it really translates it to like, oh, western's more of a genre rather than like maybe an exclusive like American kind of
right.
type of film.
It definitely is a genre because there are definitely certain tropes that happen in like almost every western kind of film.
Yeah.
And even people argue that even like Star Wars is like a western, or it's really inspired by westerns.
Right. Well, I mean, like The Mandalorian is a complete western.
Mandalorian, but even just Star Wars itself, because there's that concept of like that one lone wolf, and like there's also like like that he was born in the desert, or like he's from the desert, and like that kind of trope as well, and like fighting with lightsaber is kind of like dueling, like in westerns there's like that tradition of like the standoff, and that's kind of like you can play that off in like a western style too.
Right. Well, I mean, you can just kind of say like samurai movies and like the Irish Kurosawas are just Japanese westerns essentially.
So like exactly. So that's why they also in Star Wars too, they're like, oh, this is like inspired by Kurosawa or like the Japanese like samurais and stuff like that too. So there's a lot of very interesting correlations you can make between Japanese cinema, like that samurai cinema and westerns, I think.
It's all in like the era.
Yeah, and like they like played off each other too.
They do.
And like like Kurosawa specifically mentions like his inspirations as well from American cinema, as well as American directors who were like, oh, I was inspired by Kurosawa and all of that. So it's very fun to see how they take in these different elements and make it their own, and like evolve and build upon those things.
I agree.
Yeah.
Anyway,
that's a great segue into what we're actually going to talk about.
I am Sean Peel.
And I'm DK Lee.
And we are Getting Past the Subtitles, where we try to bring you guys everything Asian movie, one series at a time. So we're continuing off of the action film series.
Yep.
And we made a pit stop in our last movie was Chinese?
Yes.
Right? Yeah.
Police
Jackie
Story.
Chan. And then we're coming back to South Korea with The Good, Bad, and the Weird.
Yeah.
So we decided to do chronologically after Jackie Chan. And so 2008 is where we land again.
Yeah.
So just a little about the movie, directed by Ji-woon Kim, which I have never seen anything else besides him. Besides this one.
I'm pretty sure I've seen another one. I forget exactly the name,
but rewatching this movie, I kind of want to see his other movies. Just because like it has a really good impression on how well this one was done.
Yeah.
Yeah, 2008 has like some, like the cast is like really superb.
Yeah.
Kong Ho Song as the weird guy, and then Byung Hong Lee and Woo Sung Jung play the main three characters, and they're like the pinnacle of like these super talented actors. Apparently,
they're like top A-list actors
Yeah.
in Korea.
I think the director was, one of his proudest things was to get this like, ensemble like together, and then yeah, they all really kind of blew it out of the park with their characters as well and their performance. So this movie has 2 releases, one for Koreans, and there's actually an international version. And apparently the Korean version is longer than the international version. So
I heard
there's like several additional minutes like at the end where Song's character, he gets up, and it's like teased in the international version as well that he lives, but we actually see him get up. Apparently he has like a metal plate in his chest, and he goes over the bad guy, and then basically like he checks his body and he finds the diamonds that he takes.
Yeah.
And then he's like approached by the Japanese army, but then I think like
he has dynamites.
Oh,
he has dynamites, and like he like is scaring the Japanese people by
like
like I'm gonna blow it up, but he accidentally like puts it on.
Oh,
and all the Japanese people start running out,
like nope.
And then he gets out.
Yeah, so apparently he escapes, and then there's like the epilogue of the hitman still chasing after him.
Yeah, the bounty hunter. The good
guy. Questionable. I remember like my first time watching Impressions, like, okay, he's obviously the good guy, and then watching it back, it's like, but how good is he? Really is he? How good is he though?
Kind of question his motives, and
like he does everything for money, and at times it's like he gives like off the kind of justice impression, but then really he just does it for money. Yeah, honestly. So
the only correlation he has with justice is like the map. He's doing it so that the people who hired him pretty much are like the freedom fighters in Korea. Right. And that's like pretty much the only good.
But still, like, he's,
I know, he's the hired man though. He doesn't really even care about it.
He's not like, believing in it per se. It's just like, they kind of did it as a last resort. They said, like, well, we've got to hire you to get this job done. And then he's like, how much do you gonna pay?
Yeah, it's kind of ironic, but
yeah, okay, sure, fine. Apparently there's a body count for this movie too, and it's like 69.
No, really?
69 people have died. Yeah, there's people falling like left and right.
Yeah.
In this movie.
I mean, it's full of comedy, but there are some gruesome moments. So it's very interesting how they play that.
You know what, like, it's hilarious to me? As like great as the action is, like the gun sound effects sound so weak.
Yeah.
They're like pop, pop, pop.
Yeah.
Especially his character, Song's character, like his 2 little pistols, like every time.
And the way that he shoots it, it's just like he's playing with like toy guns. Basically.
He's so gimmicky with it. He's like little water guns. There's a shot when he saves his friends, like the guy shoots him off the horse, and then he shoots the guy who's like on the horse that was like dragging him, and he's like pop, 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 and then like runs to him. Yeah. I was watching like interviews, or I was trying to find like behind the scenes videos and like interviews from the director and like the cast, and the director was like, one of his initial ideas was giving Song 2 little pistols, and then like from that idea this movie kind of blossomed. I was like, yeah, I can see that. So come on, Lee, tradition, what is this movie, man?
So the basic premise, I guess.
And why'd you pick it? Throw that in there.
Okay, yeah. So the basic premise of this film is there is this there are freedom fighters in Korea who have come to Manchuria because they're trying to find this treasure, because they need the money to fund the freedom fighters back in Korea because of the Japanese occupation there. And so they decide to hire this bounty hunter, or this I guess he is a bounty hunter.
He's pretty much a bounty, yeah.
Yeah, to find a map that has the coordinates to this place where they can, find whatever treasure it may be. And basically it's like a treasure hunt where there's this one other dude called the weird dude who also decides to go for it, but for his own reasons. And then there's also this bad guy who is kind of on the Japanese side, but he's really. In the beginning, he gets the mission from a Japanese I guess
officer, right?
Yeah, sympathizer or whatever. I don't know exact officer maybe.
Yeah, it's never really said because I went back.
Yeah,
and I was wondering
they don't specify who he really is, but it's implied that he's like with the Japanese kind of. Gotcha. Yeah, and so so the bad guy is on that same kind of road as well. And so basically it's a manhunt / treasure hunt / all of these different like groups, factions trying to like get at this treasure.
Yeah.
And there's like it's interesting because there's these like Manchurian group, there's Japanese forces, there's also like the bad guy kind of has his own posse that he kind of rolls with. And so like there's all these different kind of
like parties.
Yeah, parties who are trying to get at the same thing. And so like near the end, it's basically this total like chaos of like all these people like killing each other.
Exactly. Yeah, it's just so funny to see how many different party members really just stand out and enter sort of the image.
Yeah.
Because initially, it introduces you to like who's who and like the core characters, or like the good, the bad, and like the weird guy.
Yeah.
And like each one has their own posse, really, except for
the bounty hunter.
Yeah, well, I really
and the weird guy.
Yun Taegu really has.
I mean, he also has his friend and like that.
Guys though.
But yeah.
But the bounty hunter doesn't really have.
Yeah.
It doesn't have a group either.
Yeah.
But like the bad guy, he's like a bandit essentially.
Yeah.
So he has like a gang of under bandits.
Yeah.
And then there's that other group, which
the horsemen people.
Yeah. So are they Manchurian or?
They are.
That makes more sense. But like, there's like the big guy who's I guess the leader, and then there's the guy underneath him who's Korean.
Yeah.
So I guess he's just like siding with them at the moment.
Guess.
But they're just like third party gangsters.
Yeah, but so it's implied like these Korean people, they all kind of fled from Korea from the occupation, and they're trying to live a new life in the wild west of Manchuria,
wild west of Manchuria. Yeah. Right. And then then there's like the kind of like the bigger scheme guys of the Japanese army and the
Korean forces or the coalition or whatever, the freedom fighters.
Exactly. But it's like everybody the three main characters are sort of taking jobs for the map, but then like as the movie progresses, you find that they have sort of their own personal like needs or like gains in it as they kind of discover like who
or their own vendettas. So
that's more like it. Like the bounty hunter he's still a bounty hunter, so even though he's hired for the map, like once he comes across like the two other guys, he's like, ooh, there's money on their heads too, and he's like goes after him.
Yep.
And then the bad guy, I have their names written down. I should really like what's Park Chung-yi is the bad guy, and so Chan-yi is like he has like a vendetta for Yoon-tae, and he's kind of like after him, and then but really like Yoon-tae isn't really after
like Taegu.
Yeah, Yoon is
his first name.
First name. So Taegun.
Well, I mean, it's his last name, not his first name.
Yeah, surname. Yes. I was gonna say surname. You're like, no, first name. I was like, wait, what?
No.
Who really knows Korean here? So Taegu is like really not after anybody. He's sort of like the really fresh start person.
Yeah.
And he's only after the money.
Yeah.
Per se, and then he gets mixed up with the other two and whatever.
Yep.
So it's like the whole movie is essentially a wild goose chase for the map, and so Taegu ends up. It all comes down to the train scene, and so that's where the Japanese officer has it. Is it the Japanese officer that originally has it? Yeah. So everybody meets there to get it, and Taegu steals it, and then everybody comes after Taegu, and then the bounty hunter ends up capturing him.
Yeah.
And then
so what happened was like in the beginning where the bad guy,
right?
He talks with that his boss, I guess.
Yeah.
In the beginning, and he says, "Give this map to the dude," and then once you give the map, take it back from him. So that's why he gives a ticket to him, but then he refuses the ticket. He's like, "I'm just gonna stop the train."
Right.
So that's what it is. Like he gives the map to the Japanese people so he can get the money from them, but then he wants the treasure back. He wants the map back so he can get the treasure from the map as well. So he sends the bad guy to stop the train and kill the Japanese
So he hires
guy.
two different people then to like one for the money to give the map to make the trade, and then the bandit to steal the map back. Yeah. So you just like
so the guy working under him is the bad guy. He just tells him, "Go get the map back so that I can just make more money with the map." Why just give it to them? You know.
That's where I was confused because I was like, in the scene, it's like the older guy who's like the gang leader, and he's telling like basically like the messenger to like give the map to whatever, and then he warns him about the bad guy. Yeah. And then hires the bad guy to like rob the train. So I was like, so who hired but I guess that makes more sense. Yeah. He just wanted greed essentially.
Yep. Basically.
But needless to say, he did not know that the Korean coalition or whatever hires the guy to steal it back.
Yep.
Which is funny because like he's on the train, but like he's never like looking for the map. He just he just like he's like there, and then once the bandits like start overthrowing the train, he's like, "Oh, all right, then,
I guess it's my time to shoot stuff."
Then he sees Chung-yi, and he's like, "Oh, gonna kill that guy."
There are a lot of questionable motives for the bounty, the good guy.
Good guy.
Because like he does certain things, or like he's in certain places where it's like really kind of like you're never really actively going for the map. You always like go for them. Or like you just happen to be in the right place.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like there's this one moment where literally he's just in the desert like waiting. and what's his name? Taegu, right?
Yeah.
He just happens to be like driving by with a motorcycle. And then he's like, okay, I'm going to shoot him and get him. But like, how did you know he was going to come that way?
He's like the ultimate tracker or something. Yeah, like, he does like, he's always like a mile behind the person.
But he somehow gets there.
He somehow catches up eventually.
Yeah.
Like later on when Taegu escapes and he goes to like the opium like house that's like the love hotel or whatever, he passes it by and then still like a scene later finds them at like that when like at the destination of the map. But he literally comes out of nowhere. He's like fighting like the Japanese army from behind.
Yeah, like and that scene was kind of ridiculous too.
Yeah.
It's just kind of crazy how no one shoots at him except he shoots at them, but no one shoots at him.
Like I saw that scene, I was like, I give it a pass. That was like, oh, he flanks them from behind. I'm like, okay, it's a little hard on horse and he's skilled, sure, but then he like
turns around and goes literally the opposite way of like 500 horses. Yeah. And he starts shooting all of them, but no one shoots at him.
Just like parts the Red Seas and destroys everybody. I'm like, all right, that's a little over the... And then like the guy, he hits the machine gun and the machine gun's like...
kills everyone. I was just like...
Insanity.
Yeah, I mean, it's fun to watch, but it's just like...
Spectacle above all.
At a certain point, you're just like... Come on, guys.
Like they did like the one bullet explode to the truck thing, and I'm like, especially in like 1940 when you're shooting pellets out of a lever action, like no way you're gonna blow up this little Jeep.
Yeah.
But you got it. It's a fun movie.
It's fun though.
It's so fun. What do you have like some highlighted scenes?
Highlights? I enjoyed that love weird psychedelic like that scene too. I liked when they pick up when he finds the kids there. And then like he's like, cover your eyes. Like he just like sticks that like stick up the dude's butt.
The arse.
Yeah.
And this Japanese person's like, I've been in war for many years.
Yeah.
Never seen something as gruesome as this.
Yeah, like those moments are pretty good, I think.
I thought it was funny when he was fencing him.
Yeah, exactly.
And he's like, taking him seriously. I think my favorite scene is probably when they go back to the ghost town because he has to find his best friend. He thinks that he stole the map, and then there's like that whole like fight sequence
in the rain and that was a good scene.
That's my favorite scene.
Yeah,
I think it's hilarious because that's hilarious when they're running through the thing and he can't find the shooters and he's like, run across so I can find the shooters.
Oh yeah,
and he's like, me? It's like, you want me to do it? It's like,
should I walk in zigzag or should I just go straight?
Or should I go zigzag and confuse them? He's like, flying out the side.
Yeah.
And he's like not even going zigzag. He's like bouncing around in one spot. And he goes to the bamboo pole and he's like tap, 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 tap.
It's crazy how they missed all those shots.
I know. It's like ridiculous.
But yeah, comedically, it is pretty good.
Yeah. Song's hilarious though. Like,
yeah.
He's pretty funny. Yeah, and like just like the whole action sequence of that scene as well. It's pretty crazy. Like him swinging on like the rope and go through. Like that, all that was done practically as well, which is
was
crazy.
it?
Yeah. If you see like some of the behind the scenes like footage, most of like the crazy shots, they rig all their cameramen to wires, and so like all the things like that, like swinging or just like, and movement wise, like they're on wires with the actors.
Oh, wow.
Like when he's like lifted up into the sky and he's like swinging with him. It's like that close-up shot. It was like
another camera dude.
Yeah, they're like bundled together and they're like side by side and they're like Tarzan through the set. Like that must have been the most craziest shoot ever.
But it looks good. It looks fun.
It looks really good. Yeah. I would say there was a lot of accolades for cinematography, and it's pretty clear, honestly, why, because it is pretty beautiful. It is shot really well. Well, a start for me is like how creatively they went with it.
Yeah, and
like,
just like the set design, costume design, it's all very like elaborate and very kind of there's a big flair to it. So
there's a lot of spunk,
spectacle.
But they did they definitely did like some crazy.
Yeah, I bet they built that huge that shanty town.
Yeah, they did.
Just probably built the whole thing.
They did.
So.
Which is insane. Like anytime you build a shanty town like that, like especially like when we saw Police Story.
Yeah, exactly.
Like you know how much time probably goes into something
and
like
you
that.
Just end up destroying the whole thing. So
art department's like, I'm going home. We're done here. I don't want to look back. I can't look back.
But yeah, there are a lot of different costume choices and different things that really kind of bring up the liveliness in the film, especially when they first show the inside of that train. Yeah, just going through it and you see all these different people with different like colors, different colors and different clothing. And like there's like white people and like all different types of people.
Yeah, that's what got me too. There's like so many different like races of people, and it feels like an immigrant kind of like setting. You know, like a very people are traveling and like trying to move. From,
which is very cool. I think
it very like sets up the setting of the movie. You know, and sort of like that. Kind of like landscape and that sort of era.
Yeah, it's funny because there's this really interesting balance between like feeling barren and feeling like lively. Like there's like this two different like, I guess polar opposites, but in this movie they kind of blend it very well. Where like, like at the ending scene it just feels very barren. Like there's nothing there. It just feels like desert. And there's moments in the film too, like in the middle of the film where like it's just very quiet and they're just like like that camping scene when him and the bad guy and I mean the good guy and the weird guy are just like sleeping on a campfire. Like it feels pretty like just open desert and like at the ending. But then there's also places like the shanty town and like that other town where it's like people come in and like they trade and like there's like food and stuff like that. Yeah. And there's also that other place where like it's the Korean bar or whatever where like the good guy goes and he traps he captures the weird guy and puts him there.
I thought that was his home though.
Yeah, it's like his home.
Yeah.
But it's like in the middle of nowhere too. Yeah. So it's very interesting.
It's camp out.
So yeah, it's pretty cool how they kind of balance those things.
Like the train is a very good comparison with that. Where it's inside the train it's like super lively and it meshes all these different looks and people in it. And then like outside of the train and those shots, there's literally nothing but the train out there. And it gets like really, really hectic once the bandits come, and everybody's fleeing.
And wasn't the train conductor like a white dude?
Yeah, there was like two of them. They were white. And some of the passengers were like white.
Yeah.
And especially in the ghost time when they went, there was like different like races and people going through. I thought it was hilarious when Tegu hijacks the front and he's like starts the train up again and he has like the lady shoveling coal in the thing.
There's a lot of great moments like that.
There's like small like tiny little
things that make you like chuckle and laugh like the when he brings the map back into the town and like he has his friend like look over it,
right?
And then they get ambushed, and like he gives the map to grandma and puts him in a closet, and she's just sleeping there the whole time. When he comes back, he's like, "Were you here the whole time?"
Or like they're shooting at the house and they're like ducking under the table and they're crawling and the grandma's like sitting there
just chilling.
just chilling.
And then she starts walking like this. Oh, no, grandma, you stay in the closet. He pushes her in the closet.
Oh, that's hide it. If he asks, don't even tell him.
Yeah.
Don't
she's like,
okay. And he goes back for her. He's like, not candy.
Where'd you put it?
Where'd you put it? Just once. Yeah, she's great. She's great. Yeah, these are like just small, like funny things. Like when he's trying to fight all the bandits in the town. And he's getting attacked by the big guy who's Ma-dong-seok.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, I had like no recollection of him being in this movie.
I know, me too.
So when in the train scene when it's like he comes through, I pause it. I was like, what?
Yeah.
Greatest cast of all time. There's a lot of people in this movie that I was like, whoa. Who like Young Chung-sung, who's like the gang leader who gets killed. He looks so different in this movie compared to today. He's older now and he's a little more heavy set.
Yeah.
And that's why, because he's kind of like mad skinny in this movie. And I was like looking at him, I was like, I know him from somewhere. And I IMDb'd it and I saw his picture. I was like, okay, that's a very big difference. Yeah, I was shocked that he was in this movie. So like when he's fighting him before he shoots with the gun, and he's like, "I need my guns back," and he's just
he just throws
toss,
it.
toss.
The good guy.
And he's like, "Shit!" Gets dragged back.
He's
down.
like trying to get his gun.
Or he was like, "Pop, pop."
Yeah,
just craziness. Yeah, I think that was that whole sequence is my favorite, and they like literally dragged the guy on the horse, like that was done practically as well.
Oh, really?
Which probably hurt like hell.
Dang.
Yeah, that was pretty bad.
Was it the actor that got dragged or like a stuntman?
It could have been a stuntman.
Probably was.
Couldn't really tell, but I hope it was a stuntman.
That's a stunt, bro.
That's a heavy stunt. Yeah. Well, apparently I heard that not Byung-hun, Woo Sung broke his arm during this.
Oh,
movie.
really?
Yeah.
Doing what?
I'm not sure, but it could have been like the wire thing.
The flying?
Could have been the flying thing. Yeah. They did some crazy stuff. I will say that. They did some pretty insane things. Do you have a favorite scene, or was that your favorite?
I really like that shantytown fighting scene too. Just all of it. Him flying through and like those funny comedic moments and stuff like that.
It's funny how like they put two like big action scenes in the same shantytown.
Yeah,
like, they go there the first time and then he's being like ambushed by the gang.
Yeah,
and then there's like the shantytown gang. Yeah, and then they go back to it for the guy, which is just completely crazy.
Yeah,
and he puts on like the diver helmet.
Oh yeah, the diver helmet. Yeah, there's so many things, so many little things.
I was watching this. I was like, this is when I thought of the action film like series that we're doing, like this is the movie that lives up to what I kind of pictured it to be.
Oh,
because like, and even now I was surprised on how much action is in this movie. Like it's basically just action, honestly.
Constantly.
Like, just there's like a very simple story, and it's simple enough to be good, and there's like the characters there, and you find out who they are and like backstory as you go along with it, but 80% of it is just like pew pew pew, ba ba ba, boom boom boom.
And I feel like a lot of action films tend to do their best when the story is very simple.
Right.
And then they kind of elaborate with killing stuff, or beating stuff up,
stuff. Yeah.
You know.
He's like, you are an action movie for a reason. Do the action. Right. You know, like John Wick again. You know.
Yeah.
It's just simple, but you focus on the action. Rather than like the last two, I feel like we're more story heavy. Like even Police Story was definitely more narrative compared to this.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know. And I will say, I don't think I have any nitpicks for this movie.
Nitpicks? I mean, I told you mine, where it just kind of like knows where everyone is, or like you know, what everything happens, and he just kind of goes there and figures it out.
He's like, I know what to do.
Because like
sometimes too, though, the bad guy, like, just near the end, the bad guy, was it Chasik or Changyi? He's like, after they lose him in the second Shantytown fight, like, there's that little piece of him getting back at somebody. Like, he kills somebody. When they have like that double narrative of when like the Japanese troops is like, we got to go back for the map, it's like an all or nothing battle, and then there's like the same conversation with the thing. Then there's like somebody else who's like telling off Changyi, and then he murders him, which is like some random guy.
I don't recall that.
When he cuts off his mouth.
Who does he cut off the mouth?
It's just like a random guy.
I do remember. I remember that happening.
Yeah. Well, he's like telling him like, you're never gonna be able to get back at the finger killer who turns out to be Yungu. And he's like, he's just telling, and he's basically like telling him about that essentially.
Well, I think what happened was like people are telling him that he's not the best, and so he's trying to prove a point that he is the best.
Sappy boy.
Yeah. You know, I mean, I guess story wise, like the character wise. Mm-hmm. They're not the deepest characters, you know what I mean? Like,
right.
Like some of like, especially the bad, I feel like he kind of feels very, I don't know, kind of. Some of his motivations kind of feel a little weak. Mm-hmm. I feel like, or like the way that he did it, or like how he comes to his like logical conclusions. Some of it kind of feels kind of weak.
Maybe they feel like a little oversimplified.
Yeah, like it's a little too simplified.
Sure.
Some of it.
Mm.
Yeah.
Like it's like if you badmouth him, he'll just shoot you.
Yeah, I mean there's some cool moments where like it's cool how they set up like how he is really skilled through that like encounter with that guy who like starts mouthing off, and he's like, I'll show you who's the best. Boom boom. And he kills him.
That poor sucker.
Yeah, the poor guy who's like eating, and he keeps like saying the wrong things every single time.
Everybody's like, I'm like,
you don't want to say that.
Yeah, he's like, I heard you faced off with the finger chopper. Is that true? He's like, I've heard different stories.
Get up.
Get up. I'll show you who's the best. He's like,
get up if you don't want to get your head blown off right now.
Still gonna get shot.
I know.
He didn't even like try to save himself. Like you automatically knew. He like turned back the coat, and he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna get shot anyway." Yeah. Poor guy.
Yeah. So I mean, I feel like the characters do feel a little weak, but I don't think it's really, I guess, the fault of the actors or anything like that. I just feel like the story itself doesn't really lend itself to a really heavy set kind of backstory on people.
Agreed.
So it's not really a big problem for me. I just felt like if I had to nitpick, there are certain things like that where like I guess you can go a little bit deeper into, and even like the reveal of him being the ghost. What was it? The finger chopper or whatever.
Something like
the finger.
Some crazy mass murder
cutter
person.
Chopper dude
with the 70s haircut.
It's just all puffy.
So puffy.
Yeah, but that too, it was kind of like like I mean I get it, trying to put a little twist into who the weird guy really is and stuff like that, but
it's never as simple as just letting the oddball be the oddball. You know?
Yeah, so
he's got to have some crazy backstory. Trying to run away from my past. Seek a new life in Manchuria. I left that in Korea. Yeah, I guess like the biggest criticism you could say is that maybe the story is oversimplified in a sense, and like the characters in a way. Yeah. But I mean,
I don't mind it though. Yeah.
It's
the interesting part is like, you know, it's not. It's just a nitpick. It's not like
right.
I don't really see it
like,
as a big flaw or anything.
Right. It's like, I mean, the movie is one thing, and it just kind of has to sacrifice something.
Right.
Like it's just like, you know, it's like I'm focused more on like the action and sort of the genre, and then that just kind of has to dwell a little less with like.
I think one reason that I feel this way maybe because there's a lot of characters in this film.
Sure.
And so maybe it's kind of harder to kind of like just specify on one person and really focus on him, because I also feel like the good guy kind of is when I watched it again, I realized that he's not in a lot of scenes as much as I thought he was when I remember watching it. Like when I watched it again, I realized he's actually not in a lot of scenes. Like there's a lot of scenes where, you know, and even the bad guy, he's not in
if anything,
that many scenes.
Is like
Tegu is the main kind of dude where like he's in every scene, you know, exactly. He's everywhere mainly because he has a map and like, you know, things revolve around the map.
Yeah.
But like a lot of times like what is it, Dongwon? Dongwon, right? Yeah, he comes out like out of nowhere and he's just like, I caught you after like all that crap happens. He's like, he's the one that just, he just picks them up and leaves, you know, like with a bad guy, like he just comes and he like tries to wreak havoc in the beginning and then he kind of like disappears for a little bit and then he comes back at the second time for the shantytown and stuff. So
yeah, he's just like always like, it's kind of like it turns out like initially like the train scene, everybody's there for the map. And then after that train scene, everybody is there to find somebody else. Like, you know, once like, Taegu has the map, like it doesn't feel like Chang-yi is after the map. He's more after Taegu.
Yeah.
And then the bounty hunter, Do-won, is after Taegu.
Yeah.
Or not even Taegu, but really
the map.
Chang-yi. Yeah.
Chang-yi.
But he's using Taegu to get Chang-yi. Yeah. You know, so it's like.
So, and like I wonder if like, you know, the Manchurian like horse riding like pack group were if they were really necessary.
That's what I was like thinking because I was like, well, what was their motivation? Like they wanted the map, but it kind of felt like they were working for somebody bigger or like kind of like
it was kind of weird because like, you know, even in that scene where like Taegu is like sleeping, and then like he gets ambushed by those the Manchurian gang or whatever. Like that could have happened without them and just have replaced it with Chang-yi, right?
Right.
So like I'm just like it just feels kind of like just kind of unnecessary. They could have been replaced with this Chang-yi and have him play a bigger role maybe in like trying to get the map again.
Could be.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Like and like the leader was always like, do you have any idea what's going on?
Yeah.
And he's just like,
funny because the Korean guy was more of the leader than the Manchurian guy.
But only because like he knew Taegu,
right?
You know, and he was like still putting all the context together at the same time. Yeah, they're just like some weird like third party gang, you know. But I think what made it weirder for me too was that Chung-yi was like a bandit himself, and then he had a bunch of henchmen under him. Yeah. So it was like two gangs like fighting over somebody.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like his gang could have just gone and tried to get the map from Taegu while he was sleeping instead of that gang. Like I don't see why they were so necessary for the film.
Exactly. Yeah.
If that's a nitpick.
Too many party members.
Well, because you know you could have maybe kind of implemented, you know, the bad guy a little bit more. That's what I mean. It's interesting because during that second fight, like they fight against each other, and that kind of plays a role in how like they escape and stuff, I guess.
Sure.
But you know, you could have just made it, you know, a different way than he escapes or whatever. So it really doesn't, you know, lend itself too much credibility. But yeah, I mean that's just my opinion, just my thoughts on it.
No,
where like I'm just trying to look at little moments where it could be a little more tighter.
Sure.
But I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to be tighter. You know, like it could just be what it is, and it's not.
And it's fine.
Yeah, it's not a big deal. It's just
maybe it could have been justified of like driving more home the point of. I mean, I guess why the different party members needed the map in a way, you know, because like it wasn't explained why that like third party gang really needed the map. Like if like it makes sense if you think about it. Okay, they're like Manchurian natives, quote unquote, you know, and then they're doing it for their country, but that's not explicitly.
Yeah, I mean, the basic motivation for everyone is just greed, right?
Right, the money for something.
Yeah, the money. So
yeah,
it's really simple in that sense,
which is fine, right? I mean, you can't have too many pieces.
I mean, that's one of the biggest motivators for most people, anyway. So really, it's not a big deal. But I'm just saying. I'm just wondering about these things, you know, as I watch it again.
Philosopher leisure. Look at it. Is anything real?
what is the point of this film? Substance.
What is substance? Yeah, this is like one of the movies where it's like not crazy substance. Well, not like. It's funny because like I mean, I use substance in the terms of like justification, like
right,
you know, and I think this movie does, and this movie definitely does that in a way. Like everything that happens in a justified way.
I mean, like I feel like it serves the purpose of what it says it's going to do. You know what I mean? Like as an action film, I think it's a great freaking action film. So
for sure. Yeah, I mean, it's very like it plays just very well to what it's supposed to be as like a Western and as like a more of a modern Western and like a very spaghetti Western and kind of like a goofy comedic blend as well, you know?
And like, you know, looking at, you know, more recent Westerns that have come out, maybe things like Magnificent Seven and stuff like that. It's interesting because I feel like they have taken some inspiration from this film. Really? In the sense of like, I mean, like, you know, Lee Byung-hun is a character in Magnificent Seven. I don't know if you watched that film.
I have not.
But yeah, like in that, like, you know, they're bringing in more of this kind of like
international.
Yeah, I guess international kind of thing into Western genre.
Sure.
Which, you know, it's very like the Western is a very American thing. You know what I mean? Like, it kind of defines kind of the American kind of identity in a certain sense. And to see that kind of playing a different kind of role in different films and different kind of takes, it's interesting, right?
Yeah. And that's why I was like driving home to him is like, it is interesting to like see in this movie and, you know, in the future that like taking a genre that seems so American, you know, and then like just making it more broader in a way or more accessible to something that is bigger than just like you think of American when it comes to Westerns, you know?
Right.
So, yeah. I don't know. I think, again, it's just like you can just, again, like as we talked earlier, you can define Westerns as, you know, like samurai movies are essentially Westerns as well. But it just really comes down to era, you know, in a way, and like playing to that sort of specific era.
Yeah. I mean, like traditionally Westerns, when you think about a Western story, it's usually about this kind of gunslinger that comes into this like town or like a homestead or something like that, and there's some kind of problem in that homestead.
Gotcha.
And that gunslinger, you know, figures out, you know, or solves the problem usually by killing some bad dudes.
So it's like a detective movie with cowboy.
And then you know they can't stay there; they have to leave, right? And they go right off into the sunset. That's usually what a typical, you know, Western story is. And I think this is pretty faithful to that to a certain degree where like, you know, the good guy, right? He gets called in by some people who need help, in this case, to find a map. And so he goes and he finds, you know, he solves the problem by, you know, having a standoff with, you know, these other two guys. And basically, you know, he rides off or in this case, he goes and, you know, finds other bounties to capture. So, yeah.
Right. You just continue on
that. Yeah. So that very specific kind of, I guess, story or like those beats that you go through in a Western is also here too. Yeah. So.
Except it all ends that they're dead.
Right.
Quote unquote.
Yeah. Technically, you know, two of them don't. Only the bad guy dies.
Only the bad guy dies, yeah. But they had a pretty gruesome end.
Yeah.
I don't remember like that scene lasting as long as it did.
I love the scene where like you just see their eyes and like they go back and forth.
And it gets faster and faster.
I love that moment.
Like, yeah. And it's funny because like it after that then it goes like to slow-mo of him like pulling it out. Which was like kind of a little unexpected for me. I thought it was gonna be like I was like, no. Pop. He pulls out the lever. He's like fling out my arm. Didn't you say in the last podcast you were a big fan of
the lever action
rifles? Yeah. Fetish number 5.
That's just cool. It's a cool gun. Or like the bolt action rifle. The old.
Oh yeah. That scene was hilarious when they were like, he's sleeping at the hotel and then they all come up to like assassinate him, kind of essentially, and he's like, and he looks at him, and he's like, my bad.
Yeah.
He's like, who is it? He's like, it's me, Byung-hee. And he's like,
he shoots the door.
Byung-hee? What? He's like, I fucked up. Yeah, just like goofiness. What I thought was really random when he runs down the stairs and he like slides and he shoots the guy and then he jumps over the table. And then like this ninja dude with like that straw hat comes in and he has like a bow and he just like throws the bow. It's just like the most random out of place character in the story. It's like never to be seen again.
Yeah. There's just crazy stuff in this film.
Yeah.
Like even that drug opium like that den.
Yeah.
That like
random
love
like
hotel / like drug dealing weird.
Like on the outside it's a building, but the interior is like a cave.
Yeah.
You know? I don't
like it's very fun how they move from different like sets and like
right
these set pieces and like
I was very glad that there's never a slow moment in the movie. You know, maybe the slowest is like when they're narrating like before the final showdown, when everybody's together and they're racing and then the Japanese army ends up. There's like a little narration of like we have to do this.
That's
like,
slightly slow, and also the moment when like they're sleeping together.
Yeah.
In the campfire.
But that doesn't really last too long, though.
Yeah, it doesn't last too long, but it is a slow moment, though.
For sure. Yeah, it feels... Yeah, it's kind of like unnecessary exposition, too, though, because I don't really find myself caring much about it. It's mostly just to emphasize that point later, to that reveal later on of who he is. Yeah.
Basically, what that is.
I'm the finger chopper.
Right, because he's the one that's like... The good guy assumes that the finger cutter is Changi, but but it's
but no.
But like at that point you're like, oh, so I guess if you're talking about this and like he's talking in this way, you kind of know who it is. You know what I mean? You kind of know what's gonna happen.
He's like, oh, so you think he's a Manchurian?
Yeah.
It's time to go to sleep.
Because he's like, oh, it's funny that you think that it's Changi, but
yeah.
Like if he mentions that, you're like, oh, okay, so I guess you're the one.
If you think it's suspicious, something smells funny here, bro.
And also, there's that moment where they do that slight flashback of
right. In that moment.
Tegu like looking down with the fuzzy, funky
with
hair.
the 70s cut, 70s cut in the early 40s. Yeah, and it's like expanded upon that. Yeah, that's a good point because I always thought that flashback was from, but. Yeah, that makes sense. And they kind of like try to like switch your perspective when he tries to cut off his best friend's finger with the blunt knife. He's just like,
oh yeah, that was pretty gruesome.
That was like,
you know what I mean, like just how he like gets dragged by the horses.
That poor guy.
That dude that was a bad day for him, man.
Which like getting like dragged by the horses was so left field because like he disappears from where he's sitting and the next thing you know he's just like
getting dragged
sliding across the set.
He almost did his finger get cut off or like half get cut off?
Yeah, it was like halfway cut.
That sucks.
Yeah, which I remember it being like him cutting it off. Yeah, but apparently he just stopped.
A blunt knife is so bad.
That's so tough.
But
then, like you see it's like right before the bone and he's just like really trying to get it. Sharpen this.
It's like a oddly comedic moment because he's like,
yeah, I just like
bring out a knife.
Give me another knife.
This one doesn't work. Give me a better knife.
It was a fat knife, dude.
Yeah, it's a huge one.
You could tell it was blunt. You looked at it and you're like, all right,
not gonna work.
Not gonna do it. You're like hammer it down or something. Yeah, there is a lot of like little comedic moments.
Yeah, or like
it all blends well.
The other gruesome moments, like when Changi goes back to his boss or whatever, and like he is like starting to talk to him, and then he like just sticks the knife on his neck, and he's like starts crawling.
He's like, nope.
Yeah,
where you going? And he takes his money and his diamonds and everything in there. He's like, oh, money, slap. Ooh, gold, slap. Yeah,
right. Like going back to motivations, like. At that point, you would think that he doesn't need money anymore.
Right. Well, like I never got like the fact that he even wanted that money. Like,
right.
He doesn't
It doesn't really seem like he ever cares for money.
Exactly.
And I guess like his biggest motivation would be like revenge or like.
But it feels like late in a way, cause
right. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Cause like up until, I mean, when was it that we find out that he wants to get back at?
Well, I think it's because he realizes the guy who stole the map is Taegu,
right?
And Taegu is the guy who chopped off his finger, and so from then on he's like, I'm gonna kill Taegu.
Right.
But
like, when do we know? At what point? Because I mean, it really comes down to, I know when he like throws the knife at the centipede.
Yeah.
But, like it's like the scene before that, but I forget what happens.
Yeah, I think it's after. So he, the scene with him and the boss and him killing the boss happens, and then it goes to him getting ambushed by the Manchurian gang in his bedroom or whatever.
Right.
And he escapes there, and then I think happens.
That's right, because what's his name? Ma Dong-suk, he tells him, he's like, he escapes or whatever, and he like tells him his name, and then he's like, oh, like that's him, and then that's when we realize. But in the same scene. But yeah, that's like half the movie before we even know like what his true motivation is. By then,
Yeah, because because the reveal is that Taegu is the finger chopper, but then they don't really reveal that until later on. Yeah. So you're never really fully sure of the bad guy's motive, right? Because you're okay. So why are you so intent on like going after this guy? Like,
right.
You have that. I guess it gets revealed later, but until that point, you're not really sure of his motivation. You're kind of like, you got the money. Do you really need to go after these people? Because you killed the guy who told you to get the map. So your assumption is like, you don't really care anymore.
Yeah.
So
you're the man now. I don't understand.
Right, so. And
then like he even takes the money. Like we really know like in that final scene, he puts the money up as the reward for whoever survives in that showdown.
Right.
So that's how you know he really doesn't care. And then that kind of like it justifies it even justifies like the quote unquote good guy's motivation for money in a way. But like even he is mixed up, because I never was sure if he was in it for the money or if it was like some maybe like a justice or a good guy sort of thing. Because like there's
ambiguous.
Yeah.
But I mean, at the end, like, you kind of realize it's just for money.
It's just, exactly.
Pretty much.
Because he's never like direct with anything.
No, he's not.
Like he captures Taegu, and then Tegu's like, he's like, I got the map. He's like, I'll tell you the secret of the map. And he's like, there's like a treasure hidden. He's like, we'll split it 60-40. And he's like, it's a pretty good deal. And he just smiles at him. And then it cuts to like him dragging him on a horse. So it's like, does that mean he took the deal or didn't take the deal? Or, Yeah. It's like, does that smell?
And like, it kind of feels like they're working together, but they're not really working together and stuff like that.
So. Well, like they're not, because like, he's really just using him.
Yeah.
He's like using him to get the bounty on Changi. Yeah. And then I guess he just wants to take his bounty as well. So he's like there for both of their heads, essentially. So
because his value goes up.
His value is like triples like at the end. And it goes even higher in like the epilogue as well.
Yeah.
It's like 3,000 won. It's like, which today isn't really that much. Right?
Yeah, it's nothing.
It's not really. Yeah, I mean, any additional?
I do feel like getting to the ending felt a little long. Like the whole
scene,
whole chase scene, and whole Japanese coming and all that, and like getting to that very ending point felt a little long.
Yes,
the action. I mean, there's a lot of action there, but I think it was very repetitive, and like at that point, you're just like, I don't even know who's killing who. Like, and like like they basically at the end, the bad guy and the weird guy and the good guy.
Yeah. It isn't even clear like how they regroup at the spot either. Like
exactly.
They all face off together, and then like they kind of split off for a second in their own way, and then they individually regroup at the oil
Exactly.
At the oil thing, and it's like, what? Like,
yeah. So it's just kind of weird and hectic, and kind of like, so what did I just watch happen?
Exactly. Yeah. Well, it's like because it's the bandits chasing after.
Basically, everyone's chasing after Tegu, right?
Yeah, Tegu.
Yeah.
And then the bandits end up catching up. Or not the bandits, but like the Manchurian gang catches up.
They catch up.
And then the army.
And then the army comes and they fight each other.
Exactly. Well, like the army like holds back for a while.
Yeah.
While the bandits and the gang.
Right, and then they start shooting at artillery and they bring in like the jeep and the cavalry and all of that.
But it's like once they kill like the army.
And then the good guy comes out of nowhere. He's just like, let me shoot people.
Bop, bop, bop. He's just like holding off and like.
I mean, don't get me wrong. That scene was great. I loved it, but.
Flippy flip.
Yeah.
Clap, flippy flip.
Yeah.
Clap. But like the Manchurian gang, like once the artillery launches and they blow off the leader, then the Korean guy, he's like, all right, it's time to go. And then they all try to escape. He never
comes back after that, right?
No.
He just disappears.
But like they like try to escape, but then it shows like their entire squad being blown by artillery. Yeah. So it's like, did they even live?
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
And basically all of the bad guys' henchmen die too.
Basically, yeah. Everybody gets murdered from the army essentially. Yeah. And then the weird guy like blows off like a bridge or something. But like that's when like the bounty hunter helps him in that situation. Yeah, it just all gets really weird. It gets a little hectic.
Yeah.
Before the final showdown. And so like the treasure turns out to be like an oil mine,
I guess. Right?
Basically.
Yeah.
So it's like everybody was thinking it's money essentially, or like something to that,
right?
Akin to that, but it just turns out to be like an oil mine essentially.
Yeah.
Which makes more sense for like the armory and the people that could actually use it, or like, you know, because initially they were saying like it'll help them, you know, pay off for the war and like things like that. So it makes more sense in like a industrial in a way, or they have the means to sell it, if anything, rather than whatever. But it was poorly translated too. Like they kind of whimmed off the map. So
I mean, there's diamond like sparkles on the map. So obviously they assumed that it was gonna be some kind of treasure.
In X, ooh, look, X means treasure. So yeah. I mean, all in all, it's just a fun movie.
Yeah, it's fun. I would honestly recommend it to anybody.
Yeah, it's different. Like on it, like I've said to this day, I've never seen something like a Western with such a kind of a Korean film sort of backbone to it. You know, like it does feel.
I mean, I don't think even Koreans ever saw a film like this.
Right,
you know what I mean?
Right.
And I think that's why it did pretty well when it came out.
Yeah. Hey, it really is a spectacle.
Because there definitely is like a kind of I guess like interest or kind of certain kind of allure to Westerns as a genre, right?
Sure. And
you always kind of wonder like, oh, like what would be the Western equivalent of a Korean movie, or like, you know, right? And you know, you start thinking about these different things, and like you think about, okay, what would it be to have a Western in like Japan, or like what would it be to have like a Western in like Africa, or you know what I mean? Like there's different kind of people with different kind of, you know, upbringing, or different kind of places and different, you know, countries with different kind of cultures and way of thinking, and they bring in this kind of, you know, genre into that place,
right?
And seeing how that unfolds is really fun to see.
Very interesting, very different as well. Yeah, like the epitome of fresh. It is a very fresh movie.
Yeah.
So it just, I mean, like I said, it's fun to like really think about those things and mesh it with different cultures.
Honestly, I think this was the first film that I really kind of brought me into watching Western films.
Really?
Yeah. Because I never really like was heavily invested in watching Western films. But then this was like, I think the first film that felt Western. And I was like, oh wow, like Westerns are kind of fun to watch.
They're cool.
They're cool. And so like I started watching other films.
Yeah.
Like actual Western films.
I think like personally, and it could be for others as well, but like I think there's like a stigmatism towards Western films. Is like
in what way?
Like just being boring or not attractive.
Or kind of slow and
exactly more just like unattractive in a way. And I think this movie in particular is a great way to explore Westerns, or if you, or like to introduce somebody if you're interested in that genre.
Right.
Because it does it in a very friendly way, in a fun way as well.
Yeah, I mean, you know, the Western genre really is kind of falling off, right? In the modern kind of, you know, era of movies. They don't really make Westerns anymore. Like definitely like more, in the golden era of Hollywood. They used to produce a lot more Westerns, but that genre has really kind of died as as we as we progress into the 2000s and it's very rare to see Western get made now, right? But it's cool to see how the Western influence is kind of seeps through different kinds of films.
Right. Yeah, I mean, like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is a great movie, and it's a set in the era of making Westerns, and it's a very nice, like, fresh take on portraying Westerns.
Yeah.
Like Quentin did his own Western with The Hateful Eight as well.
Yeah, even Django Unchained is a certain kind of Western,
Exactly. So it is interesting to see, in today, how Westerns sort of evolve and have a certain influence on movies, and how, modern movies sort of decide to take it rather than it feeling like old in a way, Like if I think like that's another kind of stigmatism of, you think of Westerns and it's like automatically back to like the 50s or sort of in that era. So it's like
the frontier and like
exactly
that kind of
like in the same way,
the gold mine, like,
in the same way of like film noir in a sense, there's like, I don't think of new movies to be film noir. It's like we just travel back
black
to like,
and white,
exactly, like late 60s
contrast,
heavy murder and like
detective films. And
so just like that way of thinking kind of comes with the genre, and then just like the age of it and like the seriousness of it just isn't appealing to particularly like younger audiences, or definitely just like modern era. So it's interesting to see like how that can kind of transport it today and make it more interesting.
Yeah, and this is definitely a cool take on that, right?
Right. Bringing back sort of like the appeal to it, So it's proof Westerns can't be boring. They don't have to be. So yeah, I would definitely recommend this to anybody for sure. And it is a classic for Korean movies, so you should go see it. But that's just my opinion. What is next on our list though? It's your pick again because mine are on here. Which Accompaniment, right?
Is it really? Is that the next one? Yeah. So. I mean, year-wise. Yeah, The Company Man.
Is it The Company Man or A Company Man?
I think it's The Company Man. Okay, maybe it's A.
A Company Man. 2012. Yes.
Well, in Korean, there's no A there. It's just Company Man. But okay.
Would you oblige us, sir?
Huh?
What is it in Korean?
회사원?
Yeah. Gotcha.
Which means literally like a person who works at a company.
Gotcha. We add the A in English. A Company Man. Yeah, so Accompaniment came out in 2012, and if free on YouTube.
Really?
What?
Wow, the whole movie.
I'm testing this now. Just like. Oh no, that's the trailer. Oh no, it's the whole thing. Really?
Guess it
wow,
works.
Okay. Yeah. So if you have YouTube, you can just watch it on there.
Nice.
Yeah. As well as like Amazon Prime or Tubi or Vudu.
This is kind of like A Man from Nowhere. The mood of it, I think.
Sure.
So it'll be interesting to kind of maybe compare it or kind of see the similarities.
Have you seen this?
No,
fresh.
Ooh. I watched like the intro or like the beginning of it, and I don't remember why I stopped.
Gotcha.
I think I just was
boring.
Next, I just decided to do other stuff, and I never got back to it. But
I got more important business to deal with.
85% like the movie, 6.7 on IMDb.
It's a plausible thing. I usually see
the wiki.
Asian wiki, guys.
97.
Usually means it's okay. If it's like 80 or above.
Isn't 97 high?
90% high. Yeah, but like, people, this kind of has like a bit of a bias of like.
It does.
Yeah. People are like, I like the movie, we'll go rate it positively,
I have a feeling I'm of the impression that usually people who hate movies are more vocal about putting things on, and when they like it, they're just like, "Oh, it's good." It's good. They never really go back to it and be like, "This is a great movie." Unless it's like really good.
Yeah.
Unless it's like so good that you have to like talk to everyone about it.
I gotta comment.
If it was just like an okay movie, usually people are just like, whatever. I don't need to say much about it. It was just fun to watch.
It's like, it was like a solid, solid 7 out of 10. Yeah, Company Man. Pretty excited about that one.
Yep.
From here on out, it's fresh territory for me. I haven't seen. For you too, right? You haven't seen the other ones either.
Yeah, I didn't watch any of yours, I think.
Nah. Yeah. I guess I haven't seen them. What was my other one? The Enter the Dragon, and then another Korean one. Was it Korean?
I don't know. You should know.
Forget my list.
Man. You're telling me about your picks? You're asking me?
Oh, Fable, Japanese movie. Fable, yeah. Sorry, guys, I keep forgetting my own list. Just like that time I said hospital truck.
Anyways.
So yes, next week will be accompaniment.
All right.
Pieces.
Good night.
What if it's day?
Or morning. Or tomorrow.